those currently infected by the coronavirus continues to rise alongside the number of those who have died.
Latest report on nipping in the bud the ravaging coronavirus. House of Representatives engages Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. 5G network comes under legislative focus as Senate sets to investigate impact on
People need to
citizens.
modify their behavior, make it a part of their life, and habits of washing hands.
Life-saving role of clean hands re-emphasized as World Hygiene Day is marked. Plus, NAF boasts national security and COVID-19 response, wings 12 helicopter pilots. Good evening. It's nice to have you join us for the network news on the NTA. I'm Ian Ray John. Reading with me tonight is Dotun Ogunyemi. Another grim milestone has been reached as the number of global deaths from coronavirus exceeds 250,000, while countries continue to lift restriction measures. Joyce Ometu gives us latest developments on the health crisis.
At 11:45 p.m. Monday, 4th of May 2020, record by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicates that there are 245 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing the total number of cases in Nigeria to 2,802, out of which 417 have been discharged and 93 have died. The breakdown of the new cases shows that Lagos has 76, Katsina 37, Jigawa 32, Kano 23, the Federal Capital Territory 19, and Borno 18. Others are Edo 10, Bauchi 9, Adamawa 6, Oyo and Ogun 5 each, while Ekiti, Osun, Benue, Niger, and Zamfara states have 1 case each. In Africa, a tally by Worldometer collated at 8 p.m. indicates that there are 48,455 infections, 1,858 deaths, and 16,484 recoveries. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has urged people not to rely on local untested remedies for coronavirus. Some 255,096 people around the world have now died from COVID-19. Data compiled by Johns Hopkins University as at 8 p.m. shows that the number of confirmed cases is 3,686,961. Coronavirus deaths in the United Kingdom have surpassed the 30,000 mark, the highest in Europe, out of which 6,000 were recorded in English care homes. In the meantime, Russia has recorded 10,102 new COVID-19 cases in the past 24 hours, reflecting the third consecutive day when new cases have been above 10,000. India has recorded its biggest daily jump in the number of cases and fatalities. 3,900 new cases and about 195 deaths were both reported in 24 hours. And that's it from here. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you, Joyce. The House of Representatives during plenary Tuesday engaged the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in its bid to get details of current state of affairs on federal government's efforts to contain the ravaging disease and the health crisis in Kano State. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that members of the Presidential Task Force had a session which lasted more than 4 hours with the lawmakers.
The federal government's team in the forefront of the fight against coronavirus fielded questions from House members on the emergency response to the pandemic, covering areas such as management of infected persons, number and state of isolation centers, capacity of testing, issue of logistics, among others. and efforts to mitigate its impact on economic and social activities.
This present crisis has laid bare the fundamental weaknesses in our system of law and policy and left our nation at risk of devastating outcomes on all sides.
What is the standard of ventilators per capita that every nation is supposed to have?
How far inwards are we looking with regards to indigenous treatments?
Chairman of the PTF, Boss Mustafa, outlined measures put in place by the federal government in the short and long term to effectively tackle the pandemic on all fronts and called for a legislative framework in that direction.
For reforming and transforming our healthcare systems, strengthen the legislative framework for economic growth through domestic manufacturing. The Presidential Task Force is working in collaboration with other structures set up by the President to ensure that there is a well-rounded national response.
Our experts are participating in the investigation of the unexplained deaths in Kano, and the team shall be reinforced according to needs.
In the absence of any vaccine or drugs for the treatment of COVID-19, the only option right now is what we call the non-pharmaceutical intervention, NTA, which is anchored on the use of advocacy and public enlightenment to empower the citizens to protect themselves.
In another development, the House has passed a resolution to institute legal action on allegations that it received financial inducement of $10 million from a foreign concern to influence the passage of the Infectious Diseases Control Bill as raised by the Deputy Speaker, Idris Wasi.
This is to stem people who will think they will just go to the corridor of the press and make a spurious statement against Nigerians. We have our integrity.
Both some APC members and some members of opposition came up to say, look, let us don't consider this. It was not on the basis of whether anybody was given any money. This House must take a drastic action to protect the integrity of the leadership, whose integrity has now been fingered, and by extension, the integrity of this institution has been put at stake.
An ad hoc committee has also been set up to investigate the matter. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says the bill will be subjected to public hearing, adding that it was conceived in the best interest of Nigerians. In the meantime, the House has resolved to investigate the Niger Delta Development Commission on alleged misapplication and misappropriation of funds. A letter from President Muhammadu Buhari requesting the approval of House members for the sourcing of 850 billion naira loan from domestic capital markets to finance critical projects in the 2020 appropriation bill was read at plenary. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And in addition to technical support to Kano State Government towards effective control of community transmission of COVID-19 in Kano, the federal government has released sets of ventilators, oxygen concentrators, ambulances and a consignment of protective equipment to the state government. The presentation was made to Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje by the team lead ministerial task team on COVID-19. Abdullahi Mustafa has the report.
For about a week now, a ministerial task team of experts has been in Kano supporting the state government in the fight against COVID-19. In addition to technical assistance, the team lead, Dr. Nasiru Sani Gorzo, presented on behalf of the federal government 4 ambulances, a consignment of personal protective equipment, sets of ventilators and oxygen concentrators to Governor Ganduje. At a review meeting earlier, the team lead described as erroneous a media report that most of the deaths recorded recently in Kano are COVID-19 related.
Because I have said repeatedly that the state is embarking on a study which we were very, very pleasantly impressed and surprised that the state had already gone ahead to do a post-mortem verbal autopsy, and the result is not out.
The bottleneck that we used to have that was preventing our own capacity for the challenges we have here in Kano, that bottleneck has been removed.
Any moment from now, we are discharging at least 2-3 cases out of isolation, which is the first of such discharges.
The meeting also received reports from the State Task Force on COVID-19 Palliatives Fundraising and Distribution Committee, which is about to conclude second round of disbursements. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, has identified fake news as a major hindrance in the current fight against COVID-19. The minister explains that misinformation and fake news stagnate all efforts to combat the pandemic.
The fight against COVID-19 pandemic has been made more difficult by misinformation and fake news. And we have had to rely on you journalists working right in the front line to deliver timely and accurate information to the populace. So to all of you, gentlemen of the press, sitting here, and indeed to all journalists across the country and across the world, we commend you for your sacrifice and hard work.
For this end, journalists, he says, are relied upon as part of those in the front lines to deliver timely and accurate information to the populace. The Information Minister stressed that it is essential and critical for them to remain professional. He describes Nigerian journalists as heroes of the fight against COVID-19, urging them not to relent in their role until the disease is defeated. In other news, the Senate is to investigate the status of 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the motion calling for the investigation noted the uncertainty surrounding the health implication of the fifth-generation network.
7 days after the last plenary sitting, senators reconvened into a chamber arranged in compliance with all the precautions of the moment. The first motion on the order paper was a call for precautionary measure in the telecommunications sector. The 5G network, engulfed by speculations and uncertainties, came under legislative focus. A motion by Senator Uche Ekwunife called for an investigation.
Several countries, including Switzerland, has placed an indefinite moratorium on the use of 5G network because of health concerns.
To bring experts together to investigate this matter.
The National Health Emergency Bill 2020, sponsored by Senator Chukwuka Otazi, passed first reading, as another motion on investigation came from Senator George Sekibo on alleged misappropriation of 40 billion naira in the Niger Delta Development Commission and the alleged arbitrary sacking of its management staff.
It is alarmed that the IMC has implicated itself with undue gross misconduct by terminating appointments of directors of the commission without complying with the provisions of the public service rules. As alleged,
all those things he said are supposed to be allegations. They cannot be said with finality. Otherwise, there will be no need for investigations.
Deputy Minority Leader of the Senate, Emmanuel Boacha, drew the attention of the Senate to the destruction of property in some communities in Taraba State, while Senator Abubakar Kyari informed the Senate of the death of the first executive governor of Borno State, Mohammed Goni, who died last week.
Issues arising from conflict of land. About 4 or 5 villages actually had been razed down and a couple of lives lost. Appeal to the security operatives to quickly move in to protect lives and properties.
Senate is hereby convinced that he was very popular and one of the best performing, patriotic, incorruptible governors in the country.
The legislators observed a minute silence in honor of the late former governor and in commendation of all health workers who lost their lives fighting COVID-19 and those still on the front line. Senate adjourned till Tuesday, 12th of May 2020. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And away from the National Assembly now, the presidency has formally confirmed the receipt of $311 million stolen from the citizens of Nigeria during the Abacha regime. In a statement, the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, says the funds have already been allocated and will be used for the development of the infrastructure like the second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan and Abuja-Kaduna-Kano expressways, which will create tens of thousands of jobs in the construction sector and on local scales. Part of the funds, the presidency explains, will also be invested in the Mambila Power Project, which, when completed, will provide electricity to 3 million homes, comprising over 10 million citizens of the country. Garba Shehu says monies returned last year from Switzerland, which amounted to $320 million, are already being used for the government's free school feeding scheme and stipend for millions of disadvantaged citizens and grain grants for those in severe food hardship. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has extolled the virtues of former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua 10 years after the demise of the former president, who also served as governor of Katsina State for 8 years. President Buhari describes late President Yar'Adua as a patriot who had passion for the masses and reversed policies he believed were hurting ordinary Nigerians. President Buhari urges Nigerians to emulate the deceased patience, gentle nature, and his politics of inclusion. The president extends his prayers and goodwill to late Yar'Adua's family, Katsina State government, and prays for Allah's continuous blessings and comfort to his soul. Now, ahead in the news, place of hygiene in defeating coronavirus, plus more monarchs sensitize their subjects. Details after this break.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it. Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
This is to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers who put their lives on the line, working in all the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, especially Lagos, Kano, Ogun, and Abuja, to ensure that we beat COVID-19 in the least possible time. Thank you so much. You are our superheroes. This message is from the Governor's Wife's Forum, the wife of the Vice President and the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
My mother-in-law and I are like 5 and 6. And our gilly game is copy and paste. But when it comes to our favorite milk, we're so different. My mother-in-law loves her pig-filled milk because it's low in cholesterol. And I love my Peak full cream milk because it's rich and creamy. And that's why I buy both. So choose your Peak today.
Peak. Reach for your Peak. Imagine a mosque without prayers. A home without a family. A country without people. People without their country. Imagine a mother without support, a child without love, a grandparent without care. Imagine fasting without iftar, or iftar without gatherings. Imagine compassion without action. Imagine Ramadan without giving. Millions of refugees are still uprooted from their homes, struggling to afford even their basic needs. Now imagine what your donation can do. Every gift counts.
Action. Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels. That sounds fun. From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy. All right, everybody, let's do this! To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds. You can do some amazing things. There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV. Live it, love it.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Exactly 10 years ago, Africa lost one of its finest leaders, a detribalized Nigerian, the 13th President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. Disciplined, yet compassionate, his was a life dedicated to serve the people. With his bold imprint on the landscape of our dear country, his memory remains a valued treasure. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, fondly remembered today and always.
Many thanks for staying. As the world battles the COVID-19 pandemic, the life-saving importance of clean hands has never been more prominent, and the 2020 World Hygiene Day draws attention to the need for Nigerians to do this regularly to stay safe from the deadly coronavirus pandemic. In this report, Basa Itaikbank takes a look at the World Hygiene Day and the face of the pandemic.
World Hygiene Day is celebrated every year on the 5th of May to mobilize people around the world to increase adherence to hand hygiene in healthcare facilities. This year's celebration coincides with the celebration of International Midwife Day. No wonder. This year's campaign theme is Nurses and Midwives, Clean Care in Your Hands. Save lives, clean your hands.
People need to modify their behavior, make it a part of their life, and habits of washing hands, not necessarily being pushed by government or by stakeholders and partners, but for people to take personal responsibility.
The campaign recognizes nurses and midwives as frontline heroes who deserve acknowledgement and appreciation, and highlights their critical roles in infection prevention.
It shows that the very little things matter medically. You can take all the treatments, do all the drugs, do all the tests, see all the doctors you want, but at the end of it, the basics of human life, human health depends on hygiene.
WHO wants the world to see it as a global call in recognition that hand washing is one of the most effective actions one can take to reduce the spread of pathogens and prevent infections, including COVID-19 virus.
Context: several African countries are providing water to communities free of charge as part of the national response.
Government government at various levels, families, health workers, and community members alike can play a role in preventing the virus. Basi Taikbang, NTA News.
And to strengthen efforts in the fight against the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria, the hygiene brand Dettol has donated more than 12,000 units of its antiseptic liquid and antibacterial soap to the Lagos State government. This comes as part of concerted private and public sector efforts to ensure that citizens continue to adhere to safe health practices. Joshua Ojito reports.
Hygiene has been what Dettol has been promoting with its products for years, and the outbreak of coronavirus has made that very necessary. So, the company has supported Lagos State with its hygiene products, such as antiseptic liquid and antiseptic soaps, for distribution to vulnerable residents as palliatives. General Manager Renkit Benkisa Nigeria says the company will not relent in its advocacy of good hygiene practices and support for the country during and after the pandemic. Director Administration and Human Resources of the Lagos State Safety Commission, Taiwo Feshomu, received the items on behalf of the state government. He described the gesture as timely and will greatly improve hygiene practices, especially in rural communities of Lagos State. Since Nigeria records the index case of coronavirus, Dettol has made such donations and contributions to federal and state governments as part of its stimulus package to cater for vulnerable citizens impacted by the lockdown due to COVID-19. It is also collaborating with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control in educating the public on coronavirus prevention. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19, CAR-COVID, has built and donated 3 isolation centers to the River State government. Chidebere Onya reports that each center has a 100-bed space.
The makeshift 3-tent isolation and treatment centers, situated at the Yakubu Gowon Stadium, Port Harcourt, is equipped with 100-bed space for each tent, in addition to other medical facilities built to cater for the health needs of COVID-19 patients.
This facility is being presented to River State government by CAR-COVID, and in Nigeria today, fighting this pandemic, we are brothers keepers. So everybody is putting resources together, ideas together, efforts and energy together to make sure we have something so that the citizenry of every state and the federation as a whole will have attention in this common enemy that we all have.
The CAR-COVID partners are also calling on other private sector organizations yet to identify with CAR-COVID in the onerous task to join hands with them and make their modest contributions in order for COVID-19 to be fought to a standstill. In Port Harcourt, Chidebere Onya, NTA News.
Enugu State government has received medical equipment, including test kits, infrared thermometers and personal protective equipment as palliative from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, under Kusike Foundation. Jude Abugu reports that the foundation also distributed food items worth millions of naira to indigent and vulnerable groups in the state.
The palliatives, which are part of the foundation's contribution to the fight against coronavirus pandemic, according to the chairman and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, represented by Dikin Oke Obodo, will help the state government in management and treatment of COVID-19, as well as in ameliorating the hardship coronavirus has brought on the people of the state.
I ask you to make do what you're able to provide. You may not be able to attend to all our needs, but at least yes, there is institution effect of stay-at-home instruction by the federal government and our state governments.
Received a lot of materials ranging from the personal protective equipment gowns. There's up to 5 cartons. That translates around more than 200 pieces, which goes a long way to assuage the fears of the medical workers at the isolation centers regarding the treatment of COVID.
Other beneficiaries of Geoffrey Onyema's Kusike Foundation palliatives include some indigent members of All Progressive Congress in the state, the Red Cross Motherless Babies Home, Cheshire Home, Mother of Christ Motherless Home, Eke Widows, among others.
I thank God for him, for giving him the initiative to
help the poor. These children cannot go out and find food. As this man remembered them, I'm thanking him very much.
The foundation will in coming days distribute palliatives in rural communities in the state. In Enugu, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
And from Enugu, we head to Ekiti, where the chairman of the Traditional Rulers Council and the Alawe of Ilawe Ekiti, Oba Adebanji Ajibade Alabi, has appealed to Nigerians not to see the ease of the lockdown as an opportunity to return to normal lifestyle without adherence to safety rules and COVID-19 prevention. Oba Alabi observed that while the ease of the lockdown is to save the economy, Nigerians must not forget that COVID-19 is yet to be totally defeated. Yemi Dalemo completes the report.
The traditional institution in the Ekiti State, which has been a stakeholder in carrying the message of the prevention and precautionary measures on COVID-19 to the grassroots, Oba Ajibade Alabi said, we continue to play this role, including adequate sensitization and the need for the people to adhere strictly to the use of face masks, regular hand washing, and use of sanitizer to win the fight against coronavirus pandemic.
There is no gain in just dying prematurely or falling victim of this COVID-19. So I want to passionately appeal to Nigerians to continue to support government in all their efforts to keep us safe in Nigeria. And by so doing, we will, at the end of this unfortunate development worldwide, we will have every reason to be glad. And
the Royal Father commended government, the frontline health practitioners and other responders in the country for their commitment, saying with more collaboration from every Nigerian, the COVID-19 pandemic will soon become a thing of the past in the country. Oba Alabi, however, urged good-spirited Nigerians to continue providing palliatives to the vulnerable, since life is not fully returning to normal during the pandemic. In Ado-Ekiti, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
The threat and prevalence of the coronavirus has called for an inclusive approach in the fight against the pandemic. To this end, traditional institutions have a huge role to play in terms of advocacy and sensitization. Chineye Nwoye, in an exclusive interview with the chairman, Enugu State Council of Traditional Rulers, Igwe Lawrence Agubuzu, tells us efforts made so far in the sensitization of the rural populace.
As custodians of the people and the culture, traditional rulers, no doubt, have a wider reach and influence by virtue of the respect accorded them by their subjects. In view of the coronavirus pandemic, they have the responsibility of educating and engaging their people with the language they best understand on the preventive measures canvassed by health officials, including frequent hand washing with soap and running water, use of protective face masks, among others. NTA News crew visited the chairman, Enugu State Council of Traditional Rulers, Igwe Lawrence Agubuzu, at his residence to find out the level of sensitization on their subjects on the need to adhere strictly to government's directive and Nigerian Center for Disease Control guidelines set out to prevent the spread of the virus.
We will not be tired of repeating and repeating to our subjects and people that they need to obey all the guidelines given. Make sure that they keep the necessary distance from one another. Ensure that all the ceremonies that we used to perform are stopped until the pandemic is over. Then, of course, when they go out, they must wear the mask.
It is expected that as the traditional rulers take a lead in advocacy on preventive measures, it would complement that of the government in containing COVID-19 pandemic. In Enugu, Chineye Nwoye, NTA News.
We go to Lagos now, where Dotun will give us an update on how the ease on lockdown is working. Dotun?
Thank you, Ere. Partial relaxation of the lockdown enters day 2. Adeola Komiakere reports on the level of compliance by Lagos residents with the use of face masks and the rules of social distancing.
Following President Muhammadu Buhari's nationwide broadcast on gradual ease of the 5-week lockdown to enable the gradual reopening of the economy, The Lagos State government announced a new set of strict guidelines that must be enforced to prevent a rise in new COVID-19 cases. The rules include the compulsory wearing of face masks and maintenance of social distancing, especially in public. It was observed that about 70% of people in public wore their face masks, although some had them under their chin or in their pockets.
I have. It's written here.
They pay me for here, that's why I come out and say make I take breathe small.
It's not convenient for me in terms of breathing.
Meanwhile, street vendors hovered around selling their wares.
It is sealed before you can open it, and I don't allow people to test it until you buy it.
In terms of public mobility, the social distancing directive is being flouted as some commercial drivers convey more than 60% passenger capacity as instructed by Governor Sanwo-Olu.
The capacity that for 4 people don't about their life
because there's scarcity of vehicle right now.
Some passengers who spoke off camera called for enforcement in this regard as the drivers are placing their lives at risk. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakere, NTA News.
Lagos, the city that never sleeps, is still in slumber after the relaxation of the COVID-19 lockdown. Ruth Ariosamo reports that commercial activities at the Balogun market are yet to pick up.
The sights and sounds of Lagos metropolis differed from the density of human and vehicular presence that characterized the 4th of May, the start of the relaxation of a 5-week total lockdown by the federal government. Balogun Market is the nerve center of commerce in Lagos. The shops, which enjoyed high patronage Monday from the heavy crowd of shoppers, was tranquil with a smattering of sellers who displayed edibles in line with the Lagos State template, which authorizes food sellers to open on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Ironically, traders whose stores were shut in line with the schedule also milled around.
Open today due to the directive of the federal government and the directive of the state government.
Because I've been given 3 days on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, which I'm very at least happy about. We need to monitor the compliance of the people so that they will not go against the law.
Meanwhile, some Lagosians are not aware of alternating days for the sale of foodstuff vis-a-vis non-consumables.
I came out today because I know it's okay to be less crowded.
From all indications, most residents believe that a spread of COVID-19 in the city will not reach alarming rates as speculated in some quarters, as the adherence level is healthy. In Lagos, Ruth Ario-Samuel, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Network News continues after the break.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Our smiles have never been so uncertain. This weekend that seems to regenerate. We never imagined missing the music of our office printer. That time stopped does not mean our stories have. We are the brave ones that set aside self-interest for a common goal. One day, we will toast to this bravery in our favorite restaurants. Arm in arm, we will sing at every concert and never skip a beat. One day, we will reclaim our streets from the wildings that have borrowed it. Take back our fields from the bush that have rented it. We will discover new places. The grey clouds will roll away, and the sun will shine. Together, we will beat this and rebuild our economy. Till then, hold your position and stay safe.
Hope you are keeping safe by washing your hands with soap or using sanitizer. Stay at home. It's the responsible thing to do. And whilst you're taped, you can do anything to keep your body and your mind together. Grow a beard like me if you want to. But please, let's stay at home. It's the responsible thing to do.
GoTV dey your side as times dey tough so. We don see your loyalty and we appreciate the journey wey we don waka together. That na why GoTV dey sama you with better upgrade to the next package as you stay connected or reconnect. We dey your side with correct entertainment. You fit save up to 75% because na we. Na to stay connected or reconnect, GoTV go upgrade you at no extra cost. Wow! Stay connected with GoTV self-service payment options. Visit gotvafrica.com to gather more information about this better discount and our payment options. GoTV dey your side. Enjoy GoTV wow awoof. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Shegun. Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they hear Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit
do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Good to have you back. The Nigerian government is to readjust the benchmark for the 2020 budget from $57 per barrel to $20 per barrel. Amina Najim is here with details. Hello, Amina.
Hello. That's right. The Nigerian government is amending its 2020 budget to assume an oil price of $20 per barrel. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, stated this Tuesday during a web conference tagged Citizens Dialogue Session on Government Fiscal Policy Response to COVID-19 and Oil Price Fall, put together by the Partnership to Engage, Reform and Learn. The minister said the budget would be cut and the initial assumed oil price of $57 per barrel would be reduced since global oil prices have plummeted in the last few months. She also disclosed that Nigeria is in talks to defer debt service obligations to 2020 and beyond, describing the talks as that of rescheduling with lenders rather than debt forgiveness. About 2 trillion naira stimulus is to be injected into the economy through plans that include 1 billion naira from the IMF facility procured last week, which is to be distributed to states, as well as $150 million from the Sovereign Wealth Fund, also to be injected. The Nigerian equities rose 1.84% on Tuesday, on an 8-week high as shares gained across sectors a day after government started to ease on coronavirus lockdown. The stock market, which lost 14% so far this year, rose for the 7th straight session to 23,504, a level last seen in March. Nigerian funds have been switching back to equities from fixed income securities, hoping for stock market rebound later this year after a coronavirus-induced rout in oil prices prompted foreign investors to sell off their holdings. In the meantime, the investors gained 374.94 billion naira as the all-share index advanced 3.21%, thanks to big cap equities. The trading session closed at 23,809.31 basis points. Market capitalization stood at 12 trillion naira, while the year-to-date return stands at minus 11.30%. The most sought-after stocks were Guarantee Trust Bank, Mutual Benefit Assurance PLC, as well as Zenith Bank PLC. And that's it from the business desk. It's back to you, Inyeri.
Many thanks, Amina. Thank you for the update. Now, the Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, Olusegun Ronsewe, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for showing exemplary leadership and commitment towards eradicating COVID-19 in Nigeria. The DG gave the recommendation while presenting protective kits to the Nigeria Police Force in Abuja. Oyinaya Kaluwoka reports.
100% by Nigerians.
The presentation was made at the Force headquarters, where the Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture, Olusegun Ronsewe, commended the President for his effort in curtailing the spread of the virus and the Nigerian police for enforcing the presidential order in achieving results.
This is the same thing that is used internationally, and we have got our Nigerian staff to use local material to produce it. With this on the face of a police officer checking on the street, he has no business with being scared. After finishing for the day, he can go and clean it up for another day use. So we have 1,000 pieces of it.
The Director General urged Nigerians to observe safety rules now that the lockdown has been partially relaxed.
I want to thank the Inspector General of Police for his statement that no police officer should abuse the human rights of anyone.
We bear the same bond, just like other social workers. And I want to assure you on behalf of IG that we're going to make judicious use of it.
Items donated include locally made hardware, protective cultural face masks, as well as the regular masks, sanitizers, liquid soaps, and handbills on preventive measures. The materials are expected to be distributed to officers and men of the Nigerian police in Lagos, Ogun, Kano states, and the FCT. Oyinaya Kaloka, NTA News.
And still on COVID-19, more prominent individuals and organizations continue to support Kano State government's efforts at containing the spread of COVID-19. Latest among such is BOA Foundation, which presented 5 ambulances and 20 operational vehicles to the state. Abdullahi Mustafa has details.
The BOA Foundation's gesture is coming few weeks after its chairman, Abdulsamad Ishaq Rabiu, donated a 3-story building to Kano State government to be used as isolation facility. 5 ambulances and 20 operational vehicles are another way of supporting the state's efforts at containing the spread of COVID-19. It is expected that the vehicles will address most of the logistic challenges being faced in sample taking and movement.
These are additions. We have so many teams going out to the field to either investigate cases, to track cases, to follow up with cases, and also to do contact listening and follow up.
Representative of the BOA Foundation's chairman, Aliu Idi Hong, also assured Governor Ganduje of more support.
The chairman have specifically donated 2 billion naira for the control of COVID-19 to Kano State. And he has also committed 1 billion naira to Lagos State. And in total, so far now, the chairman, through the BOA Foundation, have spent almost about 7 billion naira in material, cash support, and also food palliative support to communities all over the country.
We are very, very grateful. You convey our appreciation to the chairman of BOA Foundation.
The governor described the gesture by a prominent son of Kano as an indication that government is not being left alone in the fight against COVID-19 transmission and control. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
In other news, barely 6 months after inducting the first female fighter pilots, another lady is among a new set of combat pilots winged by the Nigerian Air Force for a combat of a different kind. Defense correspondent Najato Tijani reports.
Winging of these 12 young combat helicopter pilots from a safe distance will have to suffice. They will also have to wing themselves for the first time in history, no thanks to the coronavirus pandemic. Among them is Nigeria's second female combat helicopter pilot. The 28-year-old and her counterparts say they are coming to terms with executing their duties in this COVID-19 period.
This additional number of pilots that we win today will no doubt boost the aircrew disposition of the service.
We are like a role model to the younger ones.
And we're expecting the best, and we hope to give our best to the service and the nation.
From July 2015 to date, the Nigerian Air Force has winged 114 pilots.
We have quite a number of people that are still outside training, so that by the time the assets are here, you already have the pilots. With more pilots that you have, we are likely to be more effective and efficient.
Whether fighting insurgents or the coronavirus pandemic by airlifting much-needed medical supplies, the rules of engagement remain clear for these young pilots, says the Nigerian Air Force. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
At this point, another break beckons. Do stay for the last part of the news.
COVID-19. Ease of the lockdown. This is our focus on NTA Tuesday Live this week. What are the public issues involved and measures in place to curtail the spread of the virus? Tune in at 10:30 p.m. for NTA Tuesday Live. The program promises to be incisive and educative. Don't miss it.
In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria. A chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
I just don't understand this coronavirus thing. Is it real?
See, coronavirus, known as COVID-19, it's a global problem and has killed thousands of people in China, Italy, Spain, UK, US, and other countries around the world.
Okay. Now, why are they saying that we should stay home?
Because if you go outside and get in contact with someone who is infected, you become infected and then come back home, affect your family. That's how it happens in other countries.
Now, please, help me explain what this social distance is all about.
See, as we are now, the virus travels through the air and by touch. We must maintain 6-foot distance at all times.
Oh, so it's not by washing my hands with soap and water or hand sanitizer that is only important?
Washing of our hands regularly is very important. But we must come together and fight this virus like we did Ebola. It is our responsibility to each other.
Thank you for staying. President Muhammadu Buhari has sent condolences to the government and people of Zamfara State over the death of the former civilian governor of the old Sokoto State, Dr. Garba Nadama. President Buhari describes Nadama as a great historian whose contribution to Nigeria, both in politics and the academia, will be remembered. Meanwhile, the remains of the former governor, Garba Nadama, has been laid to rest.
Late Dr. Garba Nadama died at the age of 87 at his residence in Sokoto following a brief illness. His body was buried at the Hubbari of Sheikh Usman bin Fodio, Sokoto.
Well, it's a colossal loss to the country. People of such character, intelligence, and experience are not very many.
He is a very hard-working gentleman.
Late Dr. Garba Nadama is survived by 4 wives, 18 children, and many grandchildren. He served in different institutions of both state and federal governments before retiring from service. In Sokoto, Dalat Abdullahi, NTA News.
Sadly, too, the death has been announced of Sir Ihasuyi Osayi at the age of 96. Sir Osayi died on Tuesday, March 24, 2020 in London. He's survived by his wife, Dame Lucy Osai, children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He has since been buried at Carpenter's Park Cemetery, London. Date for the memorial service in celebration of his life will be announced later. It's been a wet evening here at the Federal Capital Territory. Today, let's check out what the prospects are for Wednesday. And that's Network News tonight. Many thanks for being a part of it. Good night.